All right, what's up? Let me see. Let me get this chat going real quick. Let's see. Boom, boom. Okay, let's see who's going to be in the building first. All right, all right, all right, all right. It's been a while, so hopefully everything's going good with my system. Everything looks good so far. Just waiting for a few people to let me know that I am live. And so let's just see. All right, all right, all right, all right. All right, so where is my moderator? Come on, moderator. Come on in here. Okay. I see, what's that? DJ Carl C. What's up? What's up? He's the first one in here. What's happening? I still don't see my moderator. Moderator, where are you? Have to send out the search party for you. There he is, my moderator. Like I said, I'm going to wait for a few people to get up in here. It's been a while, man, since I've been up. So, but let me see. Peace, guys. That's B Solo 8. Okay, what's up? What's up? How you guys doing? All right. Let's see. I hope everyone is doing well. I mean, the weather, I don't know where you are, but Jersey right now, weather is good. What's up, China Black? Peace to you, sister. We got a good one for you, China. I see you over there on scoreboard. So we're gonna do. I just have to jump in here with this conversation because it's just getting out of hand. So I see a few more people up in here. Let's see, American Maker. You know who I'm actually looking for is the Most High. Uh, I want to know whether or not he is going to show up because believe it or not, he's going to be part of my presentation today. Tuned in, Black Haze 21. What's up? What's up? All right. I'm going to give it a few more minutes before I get started. If anybody know the Most High, could contact him. Tell him to tap in. What's up, JG? JG, if you could get in touch with the Most High, have him check in because I want to speak to him. Specifically. So most of this is going to be, I'm going to start it off about using a conversation, a part of a conversation. Asiatic Supreme, what's up? What's up? A conversation that the Most High had with our good doctor friend. And it was very enlightening in the way that the conversation went. And so I'm going to play some clips of that part of the conversation. Uh, the conversation is, at least the subject matter was uh, the Latin breakdown, debunk the Latin breakdown. Now, if truth be told, I've debunked it literally hundreds of times. I've done a series on debunking his documentary. He has yet to reply or to try to counter the information. And so it stands as proof that my information is solid. You know, I've debunked them on other videos as well. What's up there, folks? I and so what's clear to me, this is what's clear to me. I believe if he accepts my information, that he will no longer have a channel. And so he's invested. And so he's going to go to the end, not address the things that I spoke about, the things that I proved. He is just going to ignore those things and continue to mislead his people. Now, okay, Latin breakdown in Cologne's exactly in his own mind. And so if there are any people out there who support the good doctor, and I would love to hear from you. And if time permits, You could come up and explain to me why I'm wrong and why he's right. And Doc, if you want to come up, you can do the same thing and face some critical questions. One question that deal with, you never deal with the fact that there was a Black power, Black arts, Pan African movement going on in the 1960s and early 70s. You never acknowledge that truth and that could have been or was likely the inspiration for the numerous Black conga players that were playing during that period of time. I've shown videos of certain celebrations, certain gatherings of Black Americans and getting together in parks, playing African drums, congas, whatsoever, all of those things. What's up, Melanated Warrior? I provided all that evidence, and he's never addressed that. He never said Truth is lying about that history. Truth is lying that Black Americans were inspired by African culture. Truth is lying about there was a time when a lot of Black Americans were wearing dashikis and Afro picks and afros and wanted to learn Swahili. Truth is lying about all of that. That didn't happen with Black Americans. Black Americans were detached from Africa. That's what he wants. If that weren't true, why not present that as a lie? Now, here's the difference between me and him. This is the difference. I can acknowledge that there could have been some Black people, Black Americans, who could have been influenced by Latin music or Latin influences. I can acknowledge that. But at the same time, also acknowledge that some weren't. One in particular that stands out immediately is Preston Epps. And we're going to get to Preston Epps. We're going to get to a number of others soon. But the point I'm making, what's up, Most High? I'm glad you're here because I'm going to play a portion of the video where you was having a conversation with Dr. Clone, and we're going to talk about, and you did a great job, but guess what happened? What always happens is Cologne will try to wiggle out of being, put on the spot. So without further delay, I'm going to go ahead and play a snippet of that video, and we're gonna, and then as we go on, we're going to talk about it. And let me see. Let's go here. Let me find it. Let me see the Latin breakdown. Here we go. Let me share it. Let me go back over here. Just give me a second to set this up. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, now here is the portion of the video where Most High calls in to confront Dr. Cologne on his lies and misrepresentation. So here we go.
Peace.
You ain't got to tell me to stick to the topic. Check it. Hello. You hear me?
Yeah, I hear you, bro. Go ahead.
So listen, respectfully, right? Hold on. Let me do something. Hold on. Nah, I turned off YouTube in the back. So listen, I've made this point.
Whoops, hold up. Sorry. Oh no, he must have counted. He went out. He'll come back. It's okay. It's still going.
Now I can't hear you.
Hello. You hear me?
Now I can hear you. Okay.
All right. So boom, I'm gonna always approach these topics with as much respect and objectivity as I possibly can. So let me start with that, right? And I'm gonna obviously do my best to stay on topic. So I've said this numerous times in the live chats, comment sections, all that. So the origin of an instrument does not always or at any time, unless the artist claims such, to be influenced in musical composition, a song, whatever the case is. You would have to ask every artist if they used a bongo or conga if the Latin culture or Latin artist was the influence for them using said instrument. I've said this countless times. So if you're going to use a conga and say just because you use the conga in a song that indicates Latin influence. No, sir. It's a tool that creates a certain specific sound that the artist figured would add on to his production of his art. Point blank, period. If that's the case, if you're going to use that, then the origin of every instrument that you would use in composing your music or your art, you would have to single out every instrument. Again, if you El Gran Combo and you on stage and you and your piano player is playing a Steinway grand piano, that means that grand piano, the origins of that instrument is from Germany. So would the influence on a El Gran Combo song be from Germany because they use a Steinway grand piano? Is that what we're doing?
Of course not.
So how is it that a conga or bongo, even though its origins are not in America per se, how would it influence the song? How would it influence the nature of a song or art if you're not going to do that with every instrument that you use to compose said art? That means the guitar, wherever the guitar began at, that means that song would have that influence. Wherever the drum set was created, that means the influence of that drum set will come from the culture in which invented that. That's not the case. What I'm saying is this, right? And this is to give credit to anybody who's a skilled practitioner, who is an accomplished artist that composes music, whatever the case is. If you put somebody in a studio, I don't care what race they are, if you put them in a studio with multiple instruments, I don't care what they are, American drum set, a drum kit, you put them with congas, with bongos, with synthesizers, with timbales, with cowbells, with claves. I don't care what you put in that studio. The person who is going to create the composition from all those instruments, that is the creator, not the origin of where the instrument comes from. Again, if you're going to single out one instrument that says it has major influence on a particular composition, you would have to cite all the instruments, because in American music, for the most part, congas and bongos are used to accent the drum patterns and they add on to the syncopation. It's not the main course of the sound. The sound in America is the drum kit, is the drum. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. Here,
Okay. So okay. You spoke your piece. You spoke your piece.
Now, what I want to do, chat, do me a favor, chat. You tell me how many times has Cologne said that the mere presence of the conga drum. Remember, he said Black Americans never saw a conga drum until the Mambo era when the Cubans brought it over. He was saying just the mere presence of the conga drum suggests that there's a Latin influence. How many in the chat heard him actually say that? Because what he's going to try to tell the Most High, oh, he never said that. He's talking about the rhythms, which is also a lie. All right. So, how many people in the chat, by putting a one, have heard him say that the mere presence of conga drums is proof that there is a Latin influence or timbales? Let me hear, chat, what you say, what y'all got to say about that, because he wants to tell us that we're stupid, we don't know what we're talking about, right? So again, let's do it this way. Let me preface it by this. Even if he changes his opinion and says, "Oh, it's the rhythms," he's wrong about that as well, because there are no Latin rhythms in Black American music. Period. Thank you, China Black. Thank you, Most High. We know what we heard, Melanated War. Thank you. We know what we heard from this guy, but he's trying to manipulate the conversation. So let me go back to let me do this. Let me go back here. Uh I'm trying to look for something. Oh, let me do this. Let me do this before I go on, before I move on. I'm going to read something. Very informative. This is stuff that I've always said, right? But I really want to read it. So I hope it makes sense. Okay. When funk artists like James Brown or a Motown produced product and a conga player like Eddie Bongo Brown, they don't ask them to play a traditional tumbao pattern that strictly locks into a 3/2 clave. Instead, they want the sonic and the syncopation of the drum. The percussionist would adapt by playing a linear driving pattern that locked into the funk drummer's heavy downbeat. They were playing a Latin flavor percussion, but they had to adjust it to fit a Western straight time R&B grid. Now, here's the reason why there's an adjustment. There's a shared ancestry, the tricilo, which means a group of three notes. People are under the impression that the tricilo is a Latin American thing only. Guess what? And I said this before, I'm going to say it again. It was here amongst Black Americans as well. Why? Because there's a shared ancestry. Our music happened to develop differently, largely because the drums were taken away for the most part, but the rhythms didn't die. They simply adapted. This is why you have the Bo Diddley rhythm, which is a variation of the 3/2 clave, but it didn't come from Latin America. It didn't come from Cuba. It's a variation because we grew up separately and distinctly from Latin America. But it's relatable and there's a relationship because of our shared history and ancestry. Dr. Clone won't acknowledge that because he'll take, like for example, he'll take, let me get off of here. Let me do it this way. I'm sorry, guys. Let me get off of here. What he'll do is this. He tries to not acknowledge that most foundational Black Americans do believe we have Black American ancestry. I mean, not Black American ancestry. I mean, African ancestry. He takes the opinion of a few people who don't believe that and then try to label all of us as having that mindset that we don't have African ancestry. Of course we do. And because of that, this is why we have shared musical ancestry, but our music developed differently. This is why people like Sheila E. and people like what's his name, Joe Patan, talked about the differences between Latin rhythms and funk rhythms. This is why, because there's a difference. You cannot play Latin rhythms and funk music, period. And just because you have the drum, the conga drum or bongos, does not immediately translate into Latin rhythms. How many times do we have to say that? How many times we have to say that? This is common sense. This is information that can be looked up and it's not even debatable. But yet, why are we still here? Why are we still dealing with this topic? You know, for a while, I kind of left it alone, but golly, this guy is tireless, spreading misinformation. Let's continue.
First of all, we're not talking about just an instrument that went into a studio. We're talking about the rhythmic pattern of said instrument. And when you listen to the rhythmic patterns of the specific b-boy anthems from the sacred crates of hip-hop's culture, there is no denying that it's unmistakable. It's not because he brought a conga in the studio that all of a sudden, or the Steinway, that has nothing to do with it. What is being played? And the African American groups from where we get these anthems from were influenced by Afro-Caribbean musicians.
Liar. And you know why? He can't even produce one Latin American or Latino musician that says that. All he can do is point to the mambo period, the Palladium, and talk about, the Latinos were going to Birdland, and the jazz musicians were going to the Palladium. This is the only evidence that he can produce, which is not evidence at all. Where is the interview from a noted percussionist, Latino percussionist, that said, "Oh, we influenced Black folks in this music"? Now, I have already acknowledged that there could be some. For example, Chuck Brown, he says, of the Soul Searchers, of what do you call it? What's the music? Go-go music. He says he was influenced, but again, he doesn't know. A lot of Black Americans don't even know their own history. They don't know what they're hearing is actually something that's part of their own culture as well, because some of us been so removed from it, they don't even know. But some of us do know. So if Chuck Brown says, "Oh, I was influenced," so be it. Fine. It's okay. But guess what? There's a lot of information that suggests that many were not. But he will not acknowledge that percentage, because for him is all or nothing. Every Black American is influenced by Latinos. There is no exception. That's idiocy. There's too much proof that indicates that Black Americans were influenced by Africans as well. And again, these rhythms were maintained. Let me give you an example. Let me break this down in this way and hope you guys understand. Imagine you and your spouse gave birth to a baby, and that baby's in a nursery, and some wicked woman comes in the nursery, steal your baby, and you don't see your baby for 40 years or 50 years. And then one day that baby, who's now a woman, comes up and locates you and says, "Guess what? I believe I'm your daughter." Now, tell me this. Do you think for a minute that during that 50-year, 40-year period, that woman that was living another life, that wasn't their daughter still? Of course it was still their daughter. Just because you're separated from something doesn't mean that you're not connected to something as well. So just because at some point drums by a substantial margin was taken away from Black people during that period of time in 1740, doesn't mean that if they get an opportunity to play the drums again at some future date, it's still part of them. It's still part of them because it shows up in our music. The Bo Diddley rhythm, the ham bone rhythm, is proof that the rhythm survived. So if I finally get a drum, now I can play my ancestral rhythms, which are now modified due to our westernization in this region of the world. I get an opportunity to play them on these instruments now. It's still my culture and ancestry. The only difference is we were separated. This is not difficult to understand. To try to separate us from that ancestry, like I said, it's a shared ancestry, but it developed differently because people in South America or Latin America were able to keep their drums, keep more of their African ancestry in terms of culture. Black Americans were not, but we were able to maintain some of that. And that's why we developed differently. This is not difficult to understand. Let's go.
This has been said time and time again. Jimmy Castor has already said this numerous times.
Jimmy Castor is a funk musician. So what? He's been influenced by Latin music. So what? He's known for funk music, plain and simple. And it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Let's go.
So you're misunderstanding the whole point. The point is not the instrument itself. The point is the rhythmic pattern that was played on the instrument.
And that's where he's wrong. There is no Latin rhythmic pattern played on an instrument in funk music. That's the point. Where is Silos Kungas? If you're listening, you come up here and you tell me that they're playing guaguancó in funk music. You tell me they're playing a palo rhythm or a tumbao rhythm on funk music. You tell me that's true. I dare you to come up and tell me that's true. Because there is no Latin rhythms. I got to say that there is no Latin rhythms in Black American music. What you have is our conception of African rhythms that were modified over time that are now being utilized to accentuate the funk rhythm. You remember Sheila E. talked about, oh, she tried to play, a traditional Latin rhythm and she just had to find her space. She said the portrait was already painted. All she had to do is find a place to fit in. That's what a percussionist do, a conga player in a funk band. They find a place to fit in, because in Latin music, the conga player, the clave directs, is responsible for setting the metrics of that particular composition. Every instrument is locked into that rigid 3-2 or 2-3 structure of the clave. Black American music is not. So because of that fact, there is no way that you can play Latin rhythms in Black American music. No way it can be done unless you adjust. So what happens is a Latin musician could come to a funk band. They have to adjust to do that. A Black American who is playing a conga in a funk band, who never was exposed to Latin music, is not adjusting. It's playing what comes naturally because they feel the funk rhythm, because it's part of their DNA. That's the difference. The Latinos adjusting, just like Joe Patan talked about, just like Sheila E. talked about. They're adjusting because it's not the same. Let me see how much more of this I want to play. Let's go.
Where did they learn that rhythmic pattern from? They didn't learn it from Africans. They learned it from Afro-Caribbeans.
But he can't produce not one. Again, we're going to talk about Presley Epps as a good example. I'm going to talk about the B-boy anthems in a minute. Let's go.
From Afro-Cubans, from Puerto Ricans, from New York Puerto Ricans. But I want to bring somebody up. I want you to stay here.
Liar. He's just lying right now. He's going to bring up stupid ass Randy. So I don't even want to hear him. Let me do this. Now, he has said, let me stop the share. And I'm going to play something a little bit later of what Most High talked about with Dr. Cologne, because it was very interesting. Let me go back here. All right. Now, I've been doing this YouTube thing on this thing at least 4 years, but I had done it previously to that, but I took like a 3 or 4 year hiatus. But since this hip hop thing, that's what I've been doing. Let me go. So this information I'm giving you today is not new. I've debunked this guy hundreds of times, but does it matter? Absolutely not. So let me find where that is. Okay. Now, this is a video I did, I think 2 years ago. It's about the B-boy anthems, because the claim was that the B-boy anthems contain Latin rhythms. And so I'm going to play a part of this video just to show you that I've been saying this over 2 years ago. And I'm going to prove when he says that the b-boy anthems are Latin inspired, that's a lie. That's a lie. Now, if he's mad enough, once I put this, of course he's seen this video. Now, if he's mad enough, he'll acknowledge that, oh, Truth, you was right. Latinos, the b-boy anthems is not solely Latin. There is an African influence as well. I'm sorry, and there's an African American influence as well, because these rhythms are native to us as well. You got to get over that. That's a part of our truth. These rhythms are not foreign to us. You would want us to believe that they are, but they're not. All right. So I think I'm going to pick up where this is the voice you're going to hear is me speaking 2 years ago about the b-boy anthems. All right, here we go. Everybody knows, he knows. So let's listen to Charlie talk about that. We're going to play Charlie Rock.
About the songs that were played. There were main b-boy songs. Give us some of those songs. Sex Machine, James Brown, Give It Up, Turn Loose. Jenny Castor's Just Begun. Shaft in Africa. The Mexican. Which is a white group. Right. They're a white rock band. Babe Ruth. Right. The Dynamic Corvette, Funky Music is the thing. Dance, everybody. That's there are others. Yeah, Yellow Sunshine was one. Apache. I love Yellow Sunshine. That's my jam. Yeah, Yellow Sunshine. Listen to Me by Baby Huey. Listen to Me, yeah. Apache, of course, everyone knows Apache. Yeah. And that's what I mean.
All right, so that's a preliminary list of the b-boy anthems. Most of them we all heard of. Now, my video I did on James Brown, I already debunked one of those myths about the Latin breakdown as it relates to Give It Up, Turn It Loose. That clearly is an African theme song, In the Jungle. So let me refresh your memory. I did a video, like I said, about James Brown, about the Give It, because the claim was that was Latin influence, and I quoted a musicologist, ethnomusicologist named Ethan Heen from New York University, who broke that down and related it to the fact that James Brown was trying to take back the negative, like trying to flip negative imagery of Black folks. We being referred to as we're from the jungle or things of that nature. And he wanted to flip that and make us proud, use language that would be proud, make us proud. Remember, this was around the time when James Brown was fully involved in the Black Power movement and everything like that. Say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud, soul power, things of that nature, songs like that. This is what he was about. You know what I'm saying? And so when we talk about In the Jungle, he's talking about Black folks trying to reclaim the negativity, trying to turn a negative thing into a positive thing. And when you think about in 1974, when they went to Zaire, Africa, the fight was called Rumble in the Jungle. Again, taking note of the fact that it's talking about Africa. So if you listen to the words with clap your hands, stomp your feet, and talking about swinging on the vine, referencing, I believe, like Tarzan, because when we think about Tarzan, we think about Africa, even though it's fictional. But when we talk about the perceptions, that's what we're talking about. So let's continue. Cologne is wrong about that. All right. Let's talk about Apache. I dealt with Apache in the video I did entitled The Origins of the Breakbeat, where I talked about Preston Epps, who was an advisor for the incredible bongo band. Those bongo that you hear in those songs, Apache and Bongo Rock, were influenced by Preston Epps, not a Latino, an African American who was influenced or introduced to the bongos by Africans. Okay, now there's an article. I'm not going to pull it up for the sake of time, but I'm going to put the article in the descriptions from Rolling Stone, and it talks about Michael Viner being inspired by Preston Epps. He was the reason why the bongo theme was utilized. Now, of course, no one knew at the time it would become a what you call it, a hip hop anthem or a b-boy anthem. No one knew that it would be, but the idea came from hearing Preston Epps. Preston Epps was influenced by Africans. He was never influenced. So there is no, he was never influenced by Latinos. So there is no reason at all. The person we're talking about, Michael Viner, who put this band, this studio band together, had no reference to Latin culture. The music was constructed around a theme of bongos being played because of Preston Epps. It doesn't matter if Erickson, I forget his first name is Eric. No, what's his first name? Well, the brother from the Bahamas, I think his last name is Erickson, right? Just because he was utilized on Apache doesn't change the fact that it wasn't inspired by Bohemian people. It wasn't inspired by Latino people. It was inspired by Preston Epps, who was inspired by Africans. So right there, that one example debunks his Latin influenced b-boy anthem myth. That one example alone does that. I really don't have to go further, but I will. Let's go. Again, this is me speaking two to 3 years ago. All right. So this is going to be the theme of my presentation today. All right. So let's talk about Shaft in Africa. This is a very interesting one. Now you heard Charlie Rock mention Shaft in Africa. Now, according to Cologne, this also includes the Latin breakdown. Well, let's see. Johnny Pate, Shaft in Africa, a musical masterpiece. Released in 1973, Johnny Pate, Shaft in Africa is a remarkable soundtrack album by American music arranger, composer, and conductor Johnny Pate. Serving as the score for the film Shaft in Africa, this album is a fusion of funk, soul, and African rhythms that perfectly capture the essence of the movie. With the infectious beat, captivating melodies, and Pate's exceptional arrangement, Shaft in Africa remains an iconic musical masterpiece to this day. The album opens up with instantly recognizable theme song, Shaft in Africa, which sets the tone for the rest of the record. Pate's ability to seamlessly blend traditional African percussions with the familiar sound of Isaac Hayes' original Shaft theme creates a unique and enthralling experience. So where is the Latin breakdown at? Now, again, like I said, Charlie Rock mentioned that as being a b-boy anthem or one of the b-boy songs. All right. So again, here's another example of no Latin influence. Again, you're debunked. You're debunked. You said that all the b-boy anthems that contain congas or timbales or bongos are Latin inspired. If that is your position, I debunked you twice already. The fact that we're still dealing with this nonsense is just nonsense. Let's go. We got some more. You see where I'm going with this? A couple of other b-boy anthems were mentioned by Charlie Rock. Dynamic Corvettes. Funky music is the thing. That doesn't have, from what my ears tell me, any congas or any of those percussions in there. Like he said, not every b-boy anthem has that. All right? So again, what does that mean? It's not foundational. All right? You have Yellow Sunshine. All right? They're out of Philly. And what I mean by that is not foundational. Is the congas is not foundational to our music. That's what it means. Not mistaken. Dynamic Corvettes is out of DC. All right. Now this is another picture of Yellow Sunshine, and I took a little picture or blew it up at the foot of one of the members. You'll see the member list, and there's a brother who plays the congas. His name is Lester Young. All right. Now, what I found was remarkable is that most of the percussionists in this period were African American. They were not Latino. So it's odd that he would make a reference to the. And you guys, forgive me when I say African American. At that time I was doing this video, I was trying to make the change, but now I don't say African American any longer. I do say Black American. But so when you hear African, I don't want nobody in the comments, oh, you why you use African American? You know, just understand I'm an old dude. You know, I've been saying African American for 30 years almost, pretty much. So it took me a minute to try to cross over. So just putting that out there. Latin breakdown or the discaga, when 99% of the percussionists, when we talk about the b-boy anthems, happen to be African American. Now, that reminds me of something. Hip hop historian, he's a YouTuber, and he uploaded this video talking about the different styles of conga playing. And something I didn't know before, but Americans developed their own style of conga playing, which is different from the Afro-Cubans. So that was very interesting because there is really no link to Latinos to us. We developed our own style, just like we created our own culture. So we get something and we make it our own, and that's what we did in reference to our music. What I'll do, I'll leave a link to that particular video so you can check the whole thing out. I found it very interesting. One of the other groups that Charlie mentioned was Babe Ruth, the song The Mexican, another b-boy anthem. Now this group is out of England. And what you will find when there are percussionists that are in Britain, 99% of them, almost 100% of them, will be African. And this is also true with this particular group. The Nigerian percussionist, his name is Gaspar Lawal. And he's on the credits on this album, First Base, where the Mexican appears. So, like I said, you'll have either an Africa connection or you have an African American connection. There are no Latino connections yet, and there aren't going to be any. Let's go ahead. Okay, so again, another b-boy anthem, not of Latin origin. Again, debunked again. So now we have three, b-boy anthems that Charlie Rock stated that were b-boy anthems or b-boy songs, clearly are not Latin related. So how do you make the claim that they are if they contain congas or bongos? Let's continue. I got one more to do. He also mentioned Baby Huey, Listen to Me, another African American singer. That particular cut, Listen to Me, has no congas, bongos on it as well. Purely an African American b-boy anthem. Let's go. Now we get to Jimmy Cash. Okay, let me stop there with the Baby Huey. Now I remember back in the day when we had that conversation about the b-boy anthems, and when I said, well, I don't hear any congas and Listen to Me, and these guys laughed at me. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about, blah, 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 right? So now I still don't hear them, and there's a reason. Now let me read this. This is very interesting, right? And many people may not know this about Baby Huey. Okay, the Bury Congo. Okay, let me see where I go. Okay, I asked the question: what are there any kungas in, and why can't you hear the kungas and listen to me? And it says the Burry Kunga player in Baby Huey, Listen to Me, was not an intentional creative design, but rather the result of posthumous production challenges and era-specific mixing limitations. The audio profile of the track was shaped by several major real-world factors. Posthumous production, unfinished sessions. Baby Huey, named James Ramey, tragically passed away in October 1970 at age 26 before completing his debut album. Mayfield's Rescue. Producer Curtis Mayfield and manager Marv Stewart had to piece the album together using raw, unpolished rehearsal tapes and incomplete instrumental sessions, compromised mix because they were working with salvageable multi-track tapes rather than pristine finalized audio takes. Certain instruments balance suffered during the final mixdown. 1970s record and mixing constraints walls. Okay, let me go here. In 1970, analog mixing acoustic percussions like conga frequently shared the same mid-range frequency as the electric guitar and organ. Without modern digital separation tools, quieter acoustic elements naturally got masked or buried underneath the wall of electric instruments. That's what happened. So even though there were congas in Listen to Me, you couldn't hear them. So there's no way that B-boys were going off because there were congas in the song, because you couldn't hear them. So there is no Latin influence. Again, debunked. Again. So why are we still here? You've been debunked so many times. Let's go. I'm almost finished with this. Now, this is the only one that I give credit because, it came out of his own mouth. Jimmy Castor, So I give him, he was influenced by Latin people. So what? That doesn't take away from what we did. Castor. And the song is Just Begun, one of the most recognizable B-boy anthems. Now, this one is a little unique because this one actually has timbales in the break. But again, remember what I told you, that the percussionist, even this timbale player, happens to be Jimmy Castor himself. So we have to get away. Again, I got to remind you guys, you cannot associate an instrument with a culture, okay? Because if I apply that to salsa music, and let's look at salsa music. They have guitars, they have pianos, they have bass guitar, they have brass. Now, what if I said that is European inspired? I'm sure they would be upset with that because they want to, feel like that's their music. Why should our music be defined by an instrument? But that's what they do to us. So the mere fact that a timbale appears in the break does not mean it's Latin influence. Now, the thing about timbales, and what's his name? Tito Puente is a good example of that. Being out in the front, playing the timbales is a form of improvisation. The fact that he had a rhythm. Okay, so let me stop it. That's pretty much what I want to talk about there. So that's, like I said, that's going back 2-3 years ago. Again, now, because like I said, Jimmy Castor acknowledged his influence, fine. I can accept that. But again, here's what I have to keep stressing. It's not, everything or nothing. Two things can be true, right? There could be some that were influenced by Latinos, and there's some that were not. It's not all or nothing. And that's what he's pushing, all or nothing. And I just demonstrated from my old video that it's clearly not all or nothing. So when you say it's a Latin breakdown and you apply that to songs like Apache, Shaft in Africa, Listen to Me. What was the other one that I featured? I can't remember now. There was 4. Clearly, you're incorrect. You know, let's be respectful of what each group did and did not do. Do not try to erase us by assigning another identity on our music. Again, we have a shared ancestral lineage, however, evolved separately and differently. But there's enough there to signify that these rhythms are just as much as ours than yours. All right? So let's be clear. Let me stop this. And let me see what the chat is saying. No such man as Jesus. His name was Yahshua. Okay. Let me see. The Most High. Okay. Let me see. I'm gonna get okay. Do we got the Incredible Hulk in here talking nonsense? He always got something to say, but he never shows up. Mighty Hebrew. Okay, his name. Okay. All right. So let me go to another. Let me share, and this is another interesting one. Again, Most High, you did your thing. You did your thing. You did your thing. Let me go to this one. Give me a second. Let me find it first. People anthem debates, Latin breakdown. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Okay, let me read it. All right. So this one here is the second time the Most High. I don't know if he went 3 times, had 3 conversations with him, but this is the one that I caught. Again, he has a conversation with Dr. Clone about whether or not hip hop was multicultural. And so this is what this conversation was like.
Speak about something that you obviously do not know anything about, I would encourage you to do your research. Okay? So that's that. All right. You are here, my friend. What are you thinking about? Hello, going once, going twice.
Yo,
I hear you.
I got a question.
Yes.
So, we talking about Inception always, right?
We're talking about what?
Inception.
Inception, creation. We're talking about the community of the Bronx, pre-hip hop and into hip hop. That's what we're talking about.
Okay, so why is it, or how is it so easy to dismiss what the original pioneers have stated with their experiences adapting or assimilating? I didn't say copy. I didn't say cosplay. None of that. Adapting and assimilating into a culture outside of the one that they grew up in within their households. So when track 2 says he learned his moves initially by going over his friend's house, seeing Soul Train, and then learning that that's where his friend got his moves from. He in turn started watching Soul Train and started becoming a better dancer than his friend. That's an account that's been documented in an interview in print. It's all over YouTube and all that, right? He's also stated in interviews on video saying that there were 2 different cultures that eventually emerged. These are his words, people who were actually there. And the reason why, not only do I have a good if not very good understanding of Black history and Black American history, especially through music and sports. I definitely saw the time period when things got better as time went on, as far as racism is concerned, or bigotry, or whatever, if you want to use those words. So when the Charlie Chase says what it was, right? Multiple times he stated the type of challenges he had trying to establish himself, knowing that he couldn't go by DJ Carlos Mendez, saying that his inspiration was he was chasing Grandmaster Flash saying he was chasing Grandmaster Flowers, um, uh, things of that nature. Disco Wiz having to duff out other Latinos for challenging him or whatever, for being with Grandmaster Cash. Grandmaster Cash saying he put Disco Wiz down with what he was doing initially. These are first-hand accounts, sir. Whether you want to go with the Moreno style, which is the original style, Ruby D, Whip a Whip, so on and so forth, right? Their accounts of them being the first within and being a minority or a singular minority and outnumbered in a culture that was outside of what they grew up in, especially Ruby D, because if I'm not mistaken, he was born in PR. So what he had to assimilate into was something different altogether. So what I'm saying is, I just don't understand how easy some of y'all discredit the challenges of the initial pioneers when either in print or video, they said very clearly what they had to go through to even establish themselves. And those gentlemen walked so the rest of y'all could crawl and talk crazy on the internet, even though you weren't there. And my second question is, or my second point also is, sir,
well, no. Let's deal with your first point. I don't even really know. What is your first point? What is your first question? Let's deal with that first.
My question was,
now he's playing dumb. It's a valid point that Most High brought up. Valid. How can you dismiss the Puerto Rican pioneers who were the trailblazers for the Puerto Rican community, and then they express their experience, which was they were the minority in a Black space, and some of them weren't welcome. At least that was Charlie Chase's experience. For the most part, Black people are accepting. You know what I'm saying? But Charlie Chase felt like, when he went to certain places, he felt, out of place. Again, he had to change his name, whatever. So Cologne doesn't want to address a simple critique that is based in reality. You know what I'm saying? We know that this is the history of many of the pioneers. We know that. But because he wants to paint this false illusion that it was kumbaya and we're all, brought up together, and as a what's his name? What's the game? The microphone Prince says, try to pull that crap on Grandmaster Caz. Like, oh, we all learned hip hop at the same time. Caz said, no, well, hold up. You guys adapted to us. That's the history. You guys adapted. You guys assimilated to us. Because Black American culture was the most dominant culture in the inner cities of America during the 1970s. Specifically, I did videos about, the TV shows, the publications, the movies. During the 70s, you either went to a Black exploitation movie or you went to a Kung Fu movie if you lived in the hood. Nobody was going into any Puerto Rican movie. Come on, let's be real. The vernacular, Black American, many linguists have clearly said the language of hip hop is Black American. You guys assimilated into our culture. I'm not saying that Cass said that. And like I said before in another video, no Latinos ever stepped up to Cass and said, brother, you're wrong. You don't know what you talk about. All Latinos bow down to Cass because they know he's telling the truth. That's real talk. So now Cologne is playing dumb. Oh, I don't know what you because he don't want to address a real question. Listen to what he does.
Clear. How is it so easy for you to dismiss the firsthand accounts of people that were really there when the documentation is there? I don't understand how this happens.
Okay. So you're bringing up a few examples. Track 2, you're bringing up Charlie Chase, you're bringing up Ruby D. I don't know why you're bringing up Whipper Whip, because Whipper Whip has never said that. But
Let me stop you there. Whipple Whip. He said he was on a podcast with Lord Jamal. I know some people have issues with Lord Jamal, but when Lord Jamal asked that question of the panel, Whipple Whip like reluctantly said, "Well, we just want some credit." He was acknowledging that it's not a 50-50. He's acknowledging that it wasn't it was a Black America thing. He's acknowledging that. He just said, we just want some credit. Y'all go watch that video on Lord Jamal's channel. It's still up. Y'all go watch that and you see what he said. So Cologne is not being honest, or he's going to try to say, well, he didn't say that. But like Cologne does, every time someone says something inaccurate or that he doesn't agree with, I just spoke to such and such a person the other day, and he said this, and he didn't say that. Every time a so-called pioneer says something that he don't like, I spoke to that guy the other day, and he never said that. And so Most High is you're gonna check him on that. Check it out.
Okay. What
Yes, he did.
So what did he? Bro, I speak to Whipper Whip all the time, and he told me he never said that.
Listen, man, if you don't start putting up these conversations that you saying that you speak to these people all the time, we're not going to believe you. We don't believe half the stuff you say now.
Okay. So what's your question, though?
It's not. I just asked you the question 2-3 times. It's going to be the third time. How is
Ask it again.
How
Ask
is
it
it
again.
Plain dumb.
How is it so easy for some of you to dismiss the firsthand accounts of people who were actually there, since you're so fixated on you wasn't there, you wasn't there, you wasn't there? So the people who preceded you, who are the actual pioneers that went through all type of challenges, so to speak, for lack of a better term, to establish themselves when they were a real minority, and sometimes a singular minority in some of these venues. How do you dismiss their accounts and experiences when they not only precede yours, but they're very, very much more established than anybody just talking crazy?
Now you remember, guys, y'all remember when Charlie Chase appeared on Drink Champs, and he said that if anybody tell you, I'm paraphrasing, but it's close to a quote. If anybody tells you that Latinos create or Puerto Rican created hip hop, he says that's not true. But if you're asking, did we help? Like I said, I'm paraphrasing. Did we help evolve it or help? Encourage it or whatever the words he used. He said yes, but he acknowledged that Latinos and Puerto Ricans didn't create hip hop. He didn't even take partial ownership of it. He was fair. He was honest. You know what Cologne did a day or two later? He make a video and said, Charlie Chase don't know what he's talking about. Charlie Chase don't know his history. You see how invested he is? He's going to tell a Latin pioneer, Puerto Rican pioneer in hip hop, that he don't know his own history and he don't know what he's talking about. So when you debate a person like Dr. Clone, understand he's not interested in getting to the truth. His whole channel exists off the premise that Latinos are co-creators of hip hop. Anything that points to countering that narrative, and if he gives in just a little bit, he don't have a channel. So he can't afford to give in. And this is why he does it. He's like Trump, who keeps saying 2020 was rigged, even though we know it wasn't. But he has to, because he has motivated a lot of people to believe it. Imagine if he came out one day and said, you know, I lied. You know how much that would destroy his base? So he has to keep up the lie. That's what Cologne has to do. He has to keep up the lie. Because once he gives into an inkling of the truth, he has no channel. Let's continue. Let me see. Here we go.
I don't get it. How do you dismiss what they went through when they said what it was that inspired them, or what they went through to even establish themselves? How do you dismiss that?
Okay, it's not my job to dismiss anything, first of all. Second of all, that's their experience. Okay, they had an experience. I heard Chase's experience. He went into a jam, and somebody came up to him and said, "What are you doing here? Why don't you?" And I'm paraphrasing. "Why don't you go and play your cowbell somewhere else?" And then somebody said, "Why are you playing the Jungle Bunny?" I heard the accounts. Okay, those were their experiences. That was not a universal experience. It was a personal experience from somebody who was ignorant, who made a statement like that. As far as track 2, that he could speak for himself.
Let me harp on that statement right there. He said that was like just a small group of people who had that experience. Now, let me point out the hypocrisy in that statement. Cologne will try to negate foundational Black Americans, or to separate them from their African ancestry, right? Now, when I say this, I'm not saying we're Africans. Let's be clear. I don't want nobody in the comments saying, no, I'm saying we have African ancestry, right? That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying we're African. To say that we have African ancestry and say that I'm not African is not disrespectful in no way. But he wants to say, because now here's the deal. There are some foundational Black Americans who believe that they're not Africans. So he takes a small percentage of those foundational Black Americans who don't believe they're African or have African blood in them. And then he tries to use that to say that we can't claim anything that's African. When I know for a fact that the vast majority of Black Americans acknowledge their African ancestry. So he's playing games right here when he's trying to say, well, you only pick, these are only 4 people. Well, if you could use 4 people, if you could use a small segment of the FBA community who don't believe they're African, and then, paint all of us as having that same belief, then I'm going to paint all you Latinos the same way. That all of y'all went through the same BS, at least initially. How does that work? It doesn't work that well, does it? Let's go. Let me see.
So it's not an issue. You brought up 4 people in a culture that was with so many other people. So
why did I bring up those people? Why did I bring them up? Because they're pioneers, sir. They were trailblazers. There's nobody who you could cite that I know that you could say came before some of these dudes that I just mentioned. So what are we talking about here? Charlie Chase wasn't the first Latino DJ? He wasn't?
No.
Tell him that.
He told me that.
So who was?
Text DJ Hollywood.
Okay, so if you go on by that narrative right there, and I'm glad you did. Okay, good. I'm glad you did that. 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 So even then,
man, let me tell you something, bro.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say this to you real nice.
Yeah.
Because you come on here and you try to be a bully, cut that shit out, bro. Right now.
Where's the Christ in him? Oh boy. Oh boy, let's go.
Cut it out, bro.
I don't cuss on your platform,
out, bro. Cut it out.
What you doing? What you doing right now? What you doing? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? I don't come on your platform. I talk respectfully. I talk respectfully every time I come on your platform. What are you doing? What are you doing?
All right. So you asked me a question. You're going to let me answer the question. And I did. So the question was, how do I dismiss their accounts? I just said, It's their accounts. Okay? I can't speak for them. 4 people you mentioned. 4. So where are the rest? I don't even really understand what your question is about. We're talking about the multicultural experience. You're talking about an experience that a Puerto Rican had with a African American that was negative.
But he's talking again. The Most High is talking about a very important period in hip hop. The literally the beginning, in a sense, because most people would suggest 77 was when hip hop culture was formulated. Charlie Chase was there. He was among the first, and that was his experience, right? That's crucial. Disco Wiz, that was their experience. You can't, because this is new to the Puerto Rican community overall. They weren't into hip hop like that. I'm not saying that Cass said that. All like Charlie Rock said that. It was a few. You had a few. It doesn't mean they weren't there. It was just a few. All the pioneers say that. Ruby D says it was a few, not many. Why would he lie? Why would he lie? The fact that you want to make this up like it was like 50-50, you know, everybody was hanging out together and everybody was in love with each other. Come on. Why is that important for you to lie about the history and take away the credibility of a person like Charlie Chase? Why? This is real history. Let's go.
That's one experience. That's not a universal experience. So let's get that straight. And forgive me for using the language, but brother, you can push a button, bro. But I'm going to let you ask your second question.
When you think about it, what buttons did he push? These were good questions, you know, because see, these are questions that are difficult for him to address because he just can't, like, you know, push them aside. You know, how can you disqualify pioneers' experience? How can you do that? What gives you the right to do that? So that's what angered him because he couldn't really defend that, you know, other than to say, oh, it was just only 4 people.
That's it. And I got somebody waiting. So ask your second question. Ask your second question.
Yo, my next question is, you didn't answer the first question, which was sad enough, right?
I did.
No, you didn't. My next question is, why in the growth and development of hip hop, right? You see how I composed myself, even though you just lost your composure? Anyway, why in the beginning of hip hop and its growth, you pretty much only heard it on black media, whether it be print media, black radio, or black television shows? If it was so multicultural.
Bro, say that again. What did you just say?
Again, the Most High is talking about the culture of New York was heavily influenced by Black American culture. See, that bothers him. That bothers Cologne because that's the reality. Why weren't there any Latino shows and venues and radio stations that were publicizing hip hop? Why? If it's part of your culture, if you're co-creators of the culture, why aren't they there? Again, because Black American culture was the dominant culture at the time.
Why in the growth and development of hip hop, when you saw it on media, you only saw it on black media in the very beginning? You heard it either on black radio, black independent record companies, black print, whether it be Word Up, Right On, those magazines right there. You saw it on Soul Train. You saw Jimmy Castor on Soul. You saw, okay, right? So you heard hip hop on WHBI, right? You heard hip hop on 98.7 KISS, and you heard it on WBLS.
Mhm.
So how did you only hear or see or read about hip hop on Black American platforms, whether it was print media, radio, or television?
I really am struggling, bro, to understand what this has to do with the multiculturalism of hip hop. You're talking about a later period.
No, he's not. He's talking about the 70s. It's like 78, 79. Even the flyers, when we talk about the flyers, you look at the majority of the flyers going into the 80s, predominantly the headliners were Black American groups, Black American DJs or what have you. That's what's on the so when we talk about media, that's what he's talking about as well. When you talk about television and all of that, that came a little bit later, of course. But the foundational media at the time, it was Black American. All right, because Black American culture was the most dominant. All these other people who were half Black or mixed mixed race, they all assimilated into Black American culture. All of them. Black Americans ain't going nowhere into someone else's culture like that. All these mixed breeds end up acting like Black Americans. That's the reality because it was the most dominant.
I'm talking about the beginning. You're talking about WHBI. Okay, let's talk about WHBI. The first person. So was WHBI a Black radio station?
No.
Okay, so it wasn't. Okay.
But
So
the show, okay. Since you asked me, right? Since you asked me, let's take it a step further. The show that Magic was on was catered and centered towards and marketed towards whom?
Youth. New York youth.
Sir.
New York youth. And we'll go a step further. We'll talk about Fly Tie. We'll talk about Fly Tie, his partner, who was on the radio with him. And Fly Tie says it was Mr. Magic, a Puerto Rican, who brought rap to radio. And that station was WHBI. So your point with
it doesn't matter, Dr. Clone. I don't know why you keep bringing that up because guess what? A white DJ brought rock and roll to the radio stations, and it was Black American music. So who cares? And we all know that he was half Black American and half Puerto Rican. But it doesn't matter who brought it to the ears of the listening public. What matters is what was the product? What product was being bought? No one is going to credit, I think it was Alan, what is it, Reed or Creed or whatever. Freed, there we go. Alan Freed, back in the 50s and stuff, for introducing rock and roll. No one is going to say that, oh, because of Alan Freed, we have rock and roll and it's a white thing. When he introduced rock and roll, everyone knew it was a Black thing because the white kids, once they found out that the black versions, which were the original versions of the songs, were better, they wanted to hear Black people. So Alan Freed, thinking about money, said, you know what? Let me call this thing this rhythm and blues thing we call it rock and roll. And we're gonna feature these Black artists. Just because he's white don't make what he produced white. He produced a Black product. He produced a Black American product the same way as Mr. Magic did. Produce a Black American product, irrespective of his ancestry. This is stupid when he talks about, Mr. Magic is Puerto Rican. Who cares? It's the product.
WHBI, Africa Islam is half Puerto Rican.
Here we go.
I don't even know what your point is, bro. These are silly points.
They're not silly.
No, they're not.
What are you really talking about?
What I'm really talking about is what I just said.
Bro.
Because prior to that, listen, at the end of the day, At the end of the day, and I'm gonna excuse the fact that you raised your voice and cussed and played yourself because you on the other line. I don't talk to you like that. So I don't know why you spazzed out like that. I don't come on your platform and cuss. I'm always very respectful. So I don't know
Forgive
why
me,
you
bro.
did that. I
Bro.
don't know why you did that.
Forgive me. Forgive me.
I don't
Forgive
know
me.
why you did that.
Because I'm a human.
I'm
I'm a human
probably
being.
I'm probably your most respectful op. So I don't know why you did that. But I'm
Okay,
a
keep going. Keep
but
going. Keep going.
that was very unchristlike, sir.
You're right. You're definitely right. And I'm
So
asking you to forgive me. You're right.
so I'm
Definitely.
gonna do this. I'm gonna sign off, and maybe
No,
one
but
day I'm gonna
what was
sign
your
off.
other question?
Maybe one day when you compose yourself.
All right. Okay. Shout out to the Most High for that. That was very, 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 very good questions, man. It was like, I mean, he put Cologne to the fire. Cologne got frustrated, lost his temper. That shows you that he can't handle the fire. When you put real questions to him, he can't handle the fire. And that's what it's going. Let me do this. Let me see who else is in the chat. Yeah, Paul Roberts, GH uh JF. What's up? What's up? Mr. Magic is the vulture. Okay, Mike Jones, hip hop rap, direct descendants of the spirituals. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Mr. Magic wanted to be Frankie Crockett. Yes, sir. Uh like I said, Black American culture, especially in the 70s, was foundational to inner city life. It just was. What's up, Isaiah White? Let me see. Let me see. Let me read what he has to say. I'm getting. Let me see. I believe most of our ancestors are from Africa. However, once we hit the U.S. and went through it, exactly, we became FBA because we helped build the U.S. Exactly. And Isaiah White, I heard you as well on the show with Dr. Clone. Uh, you did your thing, but I wanted to highlight the Most High. I thought he was very effective in what he did that night, and I just wanted to highlight that conversation. He was saying many of the things I've been saying for over 3 years. 3 years I've been doing this. So when he says, he has never been debunked, he has to say that. But here's how you could prove that he's never been debunked by me. Make a video disproving anything I said. And don't make the video about, don't make the fifth video about when I misspoke about the Latin players going to the Birdland and the jazz player going to the play. Don't make another video about that. That's tired. I got so much information. I got over, I don't know how many videos, I don't know, over 150, almost 200, I don't know. And there's a lot there to work with, Doc. Make a video where you prove True Savior lied about something. All right? I debunked you hundreds of times. Hundreds. So you keep telling your people that you never been debunked. You and Randy still living in a fantasy. Talk about you guys never. You keep doing that. That's okay. But none of y'all gonna make a video debunking me. I guarantee you that. First of all, Dr. Cone promised, I'm not going to respond to anybody anymore. I'm just going to let my information speak for itself. Let's see if I can tempt him to make a video. Come on, Doc, make a video. All right. Let me end this with this. This is something I kind of I had for a while, right? But I said, man, let me end it with this. Okay. This is one of his what do you call it? He just appeared on live one day and talking nonsense. Let me see. Let me find it, guys, right quick. Okay, I'm just gonna play a portion of it, and I'm gonna show you the hatred that he has for us. And I could tell why he took it down. Because it's clear animosity and hatred for foundational Black Americans. So let me see. What did I do? I messed up there. Where is it? Oh, here we go. All right, here we go. This is what I want. This is what I want. Okay, this video, he took this down. But check this out.
Wow. Mary Lynch, hello. Yeah, it is what they've been told. Yep, that's a good point. It's what they've been taught by these fringe religious groups who tell them they're gods. Get out of here. Y'all are funny. Anyway, just wanted to address that issue.
What he's doing, he's reading
Nobody
comments.
denies the influences from Black American artists, but it was a two-way process. When it came to rhythms and hand drums, bongos and congas, they picked that up from Latinos.
Now I don't know who wrote that comment. That's a flagrant lie. And I just went through that. But somebody in the comments said that to him.
Oh, did you really just say that? Because that's what we've been saying the whole time. Let me see, is this who I think it's from? Yes. When it came to rhythms and hand drums, bongos and congas, they picked that up from Latinos. Thank you very much. That's all we've been saying. It wasn't native to what y'all were doing.
The rhythms were native to us. And that's what I keep stressing. And I want you guys that are listening to me to understand that the rhythms are native to us. We have the Tricilo in our music too. The 332 is part of the indigenous culture of Black Americans, the ethnogenesis people, the people who are ethnogenicized in this country, maintain those rhythms, but they evolve slightly differently, more to adapt to a Western style of music. But they are inherently within us still. So, and like I said, it's a shared culture. So it is native to us. Any ethnomusicologist will tell you that. Unfortunately, what's happened is that for centuries, not centuries, but for decades, the narrative has been that Black Americans lost their drums and they lost their rhythms, and thank God for Latinos. They brought rhythms to us, and we learned rhythms from them. That has been the narrative for so long. That's been the narrative of the so-called Spanish tinge, which I've debunked. I've debunked that nonsense. Anybody make a video telling them I'm wrong about that. So all of this so-called Spanish influence has been debunked by me already. Somebody please make a video saying Truth is wrong about that. And here's the reason why Truth is wrong about that. You won't see it. Because I'm exposing the lies. I'm exposing misrepresentation about our music culture. That's what I'm doing. Let's continue.
I'll say this again. Prior to Chano Pozo and Dizzy Gillespie and Manteca, African-American big bands did not use the polyrhythms of congas, bongo, timbale. They did not. They did not. And it doesn't matter what you show and prove What's funny about some of these guys.
See, he just says it doesn't matter. You just heard it. You just heard him. It doesn't matter what we prove, show and prove. He's not going to accept it. And he called himself a scholar and a historian, not willing to accept real information that can be verified. Right? You heard him. It doesn't matter what you guys prove or provide. I'm not going to accept it. I'm going to still lie that we gave you this gift of polyrhythms. You wouldn't have had it if it wasn't for us. I'm going to still tell that lie. That's what he's doing.
Guys, is that they choose to talk about Africa when it's convenient for them. That's when they choose to talk about Africa. Oh, no, that's from Africa. Oh, wait a minute. I thought you didn't identify with that. Then they choose to talk about Jamaica when it's convenient for them. Oh, reggaeton. They borrowed that. They stole that from the Jamaicans. Oh, now you're touting and bigging up the Jamaicans. Make up your mind.
The truth is the truth. The truth is the truth. Again, I got to keep saying this with regards to Africa. This is how he disqualifies the Black Power movement. If I bring up the Black Power movement, I think Most High brought that up in another conversation. I didn't play it here, but he understands that that is a connection for Black Americans to Africa. But he will not acknowledge. So he's basically saying, oh, it's a convenient way that you can try to use this African thing when you guys don't really believe in it. So that's what this is why he hasn't addressed me when I brought up this particular issue on several videos. He's never addressed it. Even the first debate, the only debate, even in the debate we had, I asked him I brought that information out. He never addressed it in a rebuttal. He never questioned me about it as if it was real or truthful. He let it go. And so in his mind, if I don't address it, if I don't give any light to it, I don't have to address it. So he will never answer that real history of Black Americans in this country. That's real history, documented history. He will not acknowledge that. Because for him, again, is all or nothing. Caribbean, Latino, or nothing. There's no in between.
Everybody borrowed everybody's stuff, dude. Guys are crazy. But that's just me.
All right, that's it. That's it for that. That was just a short segment of him. I just played that little portion. It was more to it, but it was, it is what it is. Let me see who else is in here. Let me see. Let me read this. Isaiah White. Let's see. Isaiah says, I believe most of our ancestors are from our. Okay, I think we did. Okay, we already did that already. Okay. Sunflower. Let me see who else is in here. Let me see. Most High says, you know what's crazy? 100%. He does that to Black children at school as a school teacher. Calm down. You're being aggressive. That's sick. Really? He does that for sure? Really? Wow. I didn't know that. All right. Well, this is what I want to do. I want to ask anybody, especially those who disagree. I'm going to, and Most High, if you want to come up, definitely, I want you to come up if you want to. If you don't want to, I mean, it's up to you. Let me see. Where are we? Let me get this out the way. Let me put this. Now I'm gonna put the link in the chat. Most High, I want you to come up if you want. I want to hear what you think of what I said today. All right. So here the link should be in the chat. Let's see if it comes up. Let me see. Let me see. Okay, the link is in the chat. I want to hear from Most High. Give him a moment to come up if he wants to. And I always like to hear from people who disagree with me. I don't like an echo chamber per se. I'm not talking about Most High, but if I invite anybody else, I would prefer someone who disagree with my information and basically tell me why they disagree with it. You know, that's what I like to do. Let me see. Never heard. Let me read some of these. JG says they claim Latino. Okay, I'm not sure what he meant by that. Let me see. Let's see what this one. I never heard a Rican or Dominican in my life rep the Caribbean. Interesting. Okay, here we go. Most High. What's up? All right. Okay. Let me see. Most High. Let's see. I don't see. Did you? I don't see a. Your mic is not. I don't see your mic. Let me see. All see. I don't see your mic. You gotta. You gotta enable your mic. Able your mic, right? Or enable your mic. I don't see your mic up. Okay, let's see. Try this. Okay, there we go. Let's see. Let's do it this way. Okay. The Most High. What's up, brother?
First and foremost, truth savior, salute to you, peace to you, elder.
Thank you,
Definitely
sir.
appreciate, yeah, definitely appreciate you reaching out and all that.
Hmm.
Whatever you want me to build on, let's talk.
Okay. Well, you heard my presentation. What do you think? What did I miss about that? Like I said, I didn't play all of it, but what would
Mhm.
you like to talk about in reference to that? And what do you feel that he tried to uh, run away from? Because you asked him some good questions, and he was clearly trying to run. And
Well, yeah, sorry to cut you off.
go ahead.
I'm listening. I'm listening.
No, no, go ahead. You go.
So first and foremost, again, I appreciate you, OG. I've learned tremendous amounts from all your lives, your
Hmm.
son,
Thank
especially your Sunday posts and all that. You know,
you.
for a little while there, it was a staple. You know what I'm saying in terms of me, getting that notification and knowing that you putting up some content. So let me
Yeah.
be very clear that I've learned tremendous amounts from you specifically and the way you present your information, sir. So if anything, if let's say you're not quote unquote hip hop in terms of your presentation, you
Mhm.
might be, no funniness, you smooth jazz, and it's appreciated that we can have people from different age brackets
Right.
um bring clarity into the difference in culture and to specify what we created and who we are as a people. So you're
Mhm.
always going to be revered and respected, sir. Never get that twisted, for sure, for sure.
I
um
appreciate that.
and also, I don't want to be long-winded. I want to get right to your to you allowing me to speak, right? So
Mhm.
also too, I also learned tremendous amounts from the brothers and sisters and the comrades in these live chats and these comment sections. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
definitely want to, cite out, China Black, Mina, Paul Bro, Mighty Hebrew, Rep
Right.
Scoreboard, so on and so forth, Bustito, Hip Hop
Right.
Historian,
Yes,
you know what
sir.
I mean?
Yes.
So
You
the
got it.
Juan B, you know what I'm
Yes.
saying? So
Yes.
yes, yeah, everybody deserves their respect,
Right.
flowers, you know what I'm saying? Literally, because it really truly is a team effort. Pretty much everybody has different excuse me, everybody has different methodologies in terms of how they bring forth how they present the information, and it
Mhm.
all points to the same direction. I
Right.
also want to always stress that there's a way to do things when we have these debates, and I try to, and I'm serious. I'm not even playing. As hip hop as I am, and if you want to call it that, if I'm gonna come on a platform, or if I'm gonna have a platform of my own, I'm looking to be in the realm of Gil Noble, Tony Brown's journal, like
Mm-hmm.
that, right? I'm dead
Mm-hmm.
serious. You know what I'm saying? I have my pants sagging. I have some, some Jordans on or whatever, but I want my presentation to be respectful or read the room and have my energy match the energy of whatever environment that I'm in. You know what I'm saying? But for the
Mm-hmm.
most part, for clarity's sake, and also to make sure that I could do to the best of my ability represent my people with class dignity so that we stand on truth and that we're not marginalized or minimized in terms of our importance, who we are and who we continue to be. And my actual purpose for doing this is not because I still have, tremendous love and respect for my people. Um, I welcome all mankind in my brotherhood. Again, if anybody knows me specifically, my parents are FBA via Youngstown, Ohio, and New Bern, North Carolina. I
Mm-hmm.
don't really have a strong relationship with my pops, but I know enough about him and heard enough from him himself to know my family lineage. The rest of my family, my grandmother's from Youngstown, Ohio too. Now the rest of my family is mixed with Puerto Rican, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
when
Mm-hmm.
I speak from clear objectivity and
Right.
knowing within my own family the distinction between the different cultures. Whether if it helps you, if it helps people describe Puerto Ricans in New York as New Yorkers, then even though Ref did an excellent presentation on what the word might truly mean, if people find it easy to identify themselves as New Yorkers, I'm going to say that my grandfather was a New Eurekan, right? Let's just say he was with
Mm-hmm.
my grandmother since 1962. So imagine what type of challenges they might have went through in the early 60s, her being foundational Black American and him being Latino or New Eurekan or whatever. So my family knows the struggles in terms of coming together and also the differences within both cultures. I live that.
I
Literally, I
know.
live that.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So I'm not favoring one culture over the other. What I am saying is when it comes to music and when it comes to music and or black culture, for some for some reason, for some reason, the masses gravitate towards the Black American presentation of fashion, music. We didn't create basketball, but we're
Right.
synonymous with basketball, no matter
Right.
what. The average person doesn't know anything about Dr. James Naismith for the most part, unless they're really well versed in the history of basketball or whatever. They just think blacks run around, run, shut up and dribble, jump high and whatever. And we're associated with. How about this, boss? We're associated with basketball the same way Latinos ended up being associated with breakdancing. They may
Mm-hmm.
not have created and started it, but the flavor that they added to it at one time
Right.
became the most visible form and became the most palatable form of the art form. There's
Mm-hmm.
nothing wrong with saying that, and it's
That's
a
right.
whole fact. It's a
That's
whole
right.
fact. So
That's right.
in my research, in my observation, in my experiences, me growing up, seeing this with my own two eyes, me and being voracious and passionate about seeing breakdancing, hip hop, at any time in the early 80s, it was a super treat. So when you actually saw it on TV and whatever the case is, or in movies or whatever, it was a mix of cultures. However, Latinos were the face of breakdancing at that time,
Yes. Yes.
right? So
Yes.
again, my analogy is even though black people did not invent basketball, we became synonymous with it to the point that people didn't even associate a white man from Canada being the person that created the sport at its inception. So
Mm-hmm.
that's
Mm-hmm.
what I see when I see Latinos in breakdancing per se, right? They
Right.
became synonymous with the art form, even though they didn't create it, because they were so good at it. Gymnastics or not, dancing off beat or not, at one time they had the crown and it was deserving. Now, one of the main reasons why I don't think breakdancing, and I might be getting off topic, but one of the reasons why I think breakdancing didn't survive was because not only was it not on beat, right? I
Mm-hmm.
think the music, I'm gonna be honest with you, Rakim killed breakdancing
Oh, really? Just explain that. What do you mean by that?
because he raised the bar for lyricism so much
Oh, okay.
that, and I'm gonna say this because I'm somebody that I definitely studied the 5% lessons.
Mhm.
Early in early late teens, early 20s, I was heavy into it and all that. Right? If you want to say I fell off, I'm gonna admit to everybody I fell off, but it did provide knowledge of self. It did provide self esteem that stays with
Mhm.
me to this day. You feel me?
Mhm. Mhm.
So that being said, the way that God raised the bar on the lyricism, it definitely put the focus on the dominant black male voice, which the dominant black male voice is the most sought after voice globally. Right. Sometimes I jokingly say intergalactically, but globally, internationally, James Brown is a perfect example of that. Michael
Right.
Jackson was a perfect example of that. That's not because we said it is. We just do what we do. We don't know who's going to gravitate towards what it is that we do in our talents. We just do it. We just being natural
Right.
to our own talents or whatever. Again, this is not bigotry. This is not racism.
Right.
This
Of
is not
course.
being a radical black nationalist or none of that. I'm none of those things. But
Mhm.
I am for my people, right? Black people, foundational black Americans, whatever. And I'm
Mhm.
for my Latino people. I'm for
Mhm.
everybody that keeps it 100% real and we can meet somewhere on common ground, whether it
Right.
be culturally, sports, or whatever. So I'm not trying to be Martin Luther King either, because anybody that try to misrepresent what I say or has perceptions other than who I really am in life, I could care less. And I really want to say something else, but I'm gonna respect your platform and you being classy, to be honest with you. But again, for the sake of truth, right? Whatever it seems like, whatever we do, and especially in the realms of entertainment, sports, whatever, people gravitate towards our talent and
Mhm.
how
Mhm.
we express ourselves, right?
Right.
So that's
Right.
all that's being said. And right, my thing is also at this point, what is anybody's end game, and whether it be us Latinos, whatever, what is your end game in claiming the creation of hip-hop in 2026 when actually it is not even a culture anymore? It's actually a tool used to sell things and to influence things, and not in a positive way whatsoever.
Right. That's
it,
true.
you know what I'm
That's
saying?
true.
So
That's true.
if you claiming it, in my opinion, and you're not trying to fix the problems within the culture, you just claiming it because it's popular.
Mhm. Mhm.
And just because something is popular, that doesn't mean it's nutritious. That doesn't mean it's beneficial. And
Right.
me, myself, again, I'm not trying to be Martin Luther King, but at the end of the day, things need to change. I think to fix anything, or if something is lost, what you do is you go retrace your steps and find out where you went wrong. And I think
Mhm.
that what we're doing now, since this whole the whole debate started for the quote unquote 50th year hip hop anniversary, I think those of us who have genuine motives, I think that what we've done is not only have we went down the road of Black history, and it's made me that much more proud of my people and myself. I kid you not.
Mm.
I'm proud when somebody calls us country bumpkins,
Right.
because
Right.
you dance the country bumpkin music. You feel me?
Yeah, yeah.
You,
I got a question for you. What do you think is at the heart of some, not all, because I know it's not all, that some Latinos are so, gravitating to this notion of co-creation of hip-hop, since you're in that community to some degree. So what is your take on that?
I obviously can't speak for everybody,
Right.
and what you know what I'm saying. What I'm gonna say is, I think that when we first saw hip hop to the masses, and especially on television. So when hip hop started growing, when hip hop started becoming commercialized and industrialized, we saw it as a multicultural thing, right?
Mhm.
And if you saw that it came from New York, you can easily theorize based upon the population that it could have been a multicultural creation. New
Mhm.
York is the melting pot. Yes. Is that specific area, is the Bronx within itself a very condensed area mixed with a lot of different cultures? Yes, it was. Right. And at the time that it started becoming captured on film, recorded, um, whether in movies or TV shows, it being documented or whatever, at the end of the day, what ended up happening was um, they were prominent within the dance culture specifically, and had a small community of MCs as well, and even some DJs or whatever. So again, as soon as it started to become documented on video or film or whatever, it had been already at that time it kind of already was a multicultural phenomenon. Now, again, I'm saying in the early 80s when it was documented, right? So
Mhm.
there's people who grew up seeing hip hop, quote unquote hip hop, and not knowing anything else but it being multicultural if you were not born in the 50s or 60s and were there from the beginning to know how what the origins were. So if you were born in mid 70s, like and I was born in 73. So
Mhm.
if and I didn't know. I thought what the Source magazine was saying was true because
That's right.
those were the most popular names and they were already staples within the mythology or the history of hip hop, right?
Mhm.
Even
Mhm.
though Grandmaster Flash stopped making songs after a while in the early 80s, mid 80s, right? Even
Mhm.
though Bambaataa didn't make a lot of songs, he was already out the game after Peace, Unity, Love, and Having Fun. He didn't make any more records that I know of, and if they did, they didn't chart and they weren't popular. That's not a knock. I'm just saying that whoever the Source magazine crowned as the founding fathers or whatever, they were not they were not um they were not as popular or they were not as active from the mid 80s on. So I'm saying that to say print media or the media in general, print media, maybe not so much radio, but print media and film, video definitely did document his hip hop in the early 80s being multicultural, not only just here, but also out west from me doing, even more research and seeing what the West Coast dudes were saying in terms of when Latinos started to build within hip hop on the West Coast too. And I think on the East Coast, especially New Yorkers, we have a you know, we feel like New York is the ish over
Right.
everybody, right?
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
kind of always felt that. And I'm gonna be 100% honest with that. But the funny thing is, and I'm gonna land my plane, and because I'm actually at the gig, I just took a break, so
Okay.
I definitely wanted to I definitely wanted to show up real quick, just because it's a privilege and honor, and I mean this for you to be able to allow me to speak, and I'm
Likewise,
definitely
man.
grateful to be
Yeah.
able to speak on anybody's platform. Dead
Mhm.
serious. So
Mhm.
I mean this with all sincerity. I'm one of those brothers. If me still having love and respect for my people makes me corny, just like I said on scoreboard on Saturday, well, I'm from Nebraska then. You feel me?
I hear you.
Anything that I grew up watching, Eyes on the Prize, so on and so forth, or whatever, it took me to this day right here.
I
And
got you.
again, I wanna document our achievements and the chronological order, if I could, with truth, honesty, and the mere fact that not only did I always have the passion for my people's accomplishments, sir, I love music. I love all music. If I like
Mhm.
it, I
Mhm.
like it. You feel
Mhm.
me? So I was
Mhm.
just listening to Joe Jackson Stepping Out the other day. It's one of my favorite songs. I'm not talking about the Jackson's father.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Right.
So again, like it's not solely about race. It's not about nationalities per se. It's about documenting with facts and receipts, right? That who did what, who deserves
Mhm.
credit for what, and
Mhm.
it doesn't mean that we're tooting our own horn. It means that we are right. We are well versed in our history, and we want it told right. We don't want this genre or culture to be, if you want to say hijacked or whatever, or compromised the way our other cultures and our other genres have been compromised or whatever. And also too, hip hop nowadays again is used to sell things, especially degenerate black behavior.
Right. Right. No doubt.
Right.
No
So
doubt.
love and hip hop, ain't no rappers on there. And if they on there, they not rapping.
Right.
Right. And again, if you hear any scratching with on love and hip hop, it's black females trying to scratch each other's eyeballs out.
That's right.
You feel me? The
That's
only
right.
real dancing that's going on is intoxicated women and men for the most part working or doing what they do, but there's nothing there's nothing that the original tenets of hip hop
Right. Right.
contain nowadays when you mention hip hop. Hip hop nowadays, unfortunately, is supposed to encompass all of Black American culture if you let the media tell it. And in the beginnings, there were distinct differences. You could the kids might have been listening to Run DMC. If you go on like to visit your parents or what, if you're going to go visit your relatives, the kids are listening to Run DMC in the back. The parents in the front listening to Jeffrey Osborne.
Mhm,
Mm-hmm.
right?
mhm,
I
mhm,
think that what they trying to do now is blur they trying to blur the lines and not make the distinctions between what grown folks are supposed to be doing on some age appropriate vibes and then what the youth is supposed to be doing. Nah, everybody's supposed to have this young misguided energy and whatever and just do as thou will and do whatever you want to do and it's all good because we it's black, it's what black people do. That's not what we do. There is differences. Not everybody's out there, clout chasing. And again, I think we need to get back to the distinguished gentleman that used to document and chronicle black culture, black
mhm.
black American achievements, like a Tony Brown's journal, like
Right.
a
I
Gil
agree.
Noble, right?
I
I think we
agree.
need to get
Yeah.
the back like a truth savior, right? We need to get back to that, right? And the
Mhm,
same way we have those examples, we need to have a ref and a scoreboard, right? We
mhm.
need we need to have we need to have a Bustito. We need to have somebody like Hip Hop Historian, who
Right.
all he does is bring receipts and
That's
print
right.
and video, all that.
Yes,
So,
yes,
I think that in the last 3 years, all you brothers and the sisters, the China Blacks, the Minas, the world's best braider,
yes. Mhm.
Renee LaRock with the research, you heard? The
I hear
Mighty
you.
Hebrew, so on and so forth. DJ Biggs, Brother Nastia, Derek Folks, Isaiah White, Patrick
Mhm.
Young. I'm not just throwing names out there
No,
because
no,
these are
no.
names that are in the chats
Yes,
consistently.
yes,
These are names that they bring scholarship and evidence, right? So
yes.
I love the fact that I'm experiencing and I'm engaging with um very intellectual, very smart, very well composed black folks when one might think that we don't exist anymore.
Right,
You feel me? So
right,
again, this literally from me, right? There's no racial bias. There's no bigotry involved, right? I do my best to not insult anybody. I do
right.
my best to get right to the facts. If you in the scoreboard chat, I'm quick on the trigger. If you're not building, you gotta bounce. We're not here for the foolishness and all that. We really here to learn. We really here to build. And why would you disrupt with the energy that we have going on? So you could just come with innuendo. You can come with insults. You know what I'm saying? And throw rocks and hide your hand. I'm not with that. So,
Mhm, mhm.
again, we should be doing age appropriate interactions with one another, whether in person or within the media. We should be doing age appropriate things no matter what. So at this point, if we're discussing hip hop, the majority of people that are having discussions or giving their inputs on things, they 40 and most of the time 50, 60 years old. There's
Right,
no need to be reverting back to junior high school, taunts, insults, things of that nature, because it's not going to get anybody anywhere.
right,
So
right,
again, forget
right,
the Martin Luther King speech. For me, I always want to be clear, and I always want myself and I always want my people to be represented the way we should be represented and not get caught up in the modern thought processes of who they try to make us out to be. And I'm active in any way I could be active to make sure this is a thing. So um I come from strong DNA in terms of my mother being like that. And I'm gonna continue on, man. Love and respect to everybody, all mankind. But I have a
no
special,
doubt.
obviously, place in my heart for Black Americans. I got a special place in my heart for Latinos, especially Puerto Ricans. If you go to my channel, I'm not even trying to promote my channel like that. But listen, if you go to my channel and you see
Mhm,
who I've done music with,
mhm.
there's a dude on there, right? He's about 5 feet tall, Puerto Rican Colombian dude, the best producer I ever worked with in my life.
What do you do?
I rap.
Oh, you rap. Okay, okay, okay,
So
okay.
so this dude did, I think Big L's last song with Shaheem, Furious Anger. Like I said, this is a Puerto Rican Colombian dude,
Uh-huh.
and it's about as funky as I ever met on some seriousness. I've had numerous producers that I work with. Not all of them, rose to prominence or whatever, but that doesn't mean that they weren't skilled, and that don't mean that they get busy. But the one that I got the most tracks from, the one that actually um brought structure to how I spit, he didn't teach me how to rap. I'm older than him, but in terms of how he did his music and in terms of him wanting his tracks to sound, yo, I'm gonna give you the beat, take it home, write what you want to write, come back with it memorized so we don't waste everybody's time.
Mm-hmm,
You know what I'm saying? So not only that, he definitely was like, I think you could do better, champ. And at first I looked at him like, what you mean? I've been rhyming before, whatever. But you know what? It's his music. And if you think I could take it to another level, guess what? I know I could take it to another level. So let's get busy.
All right. Okay.
You feel
I'm
me?
gonna
So
definitely check out your channel.
so I'm just saying that to say that there's
Yeah.
no bias there. And
Yeah.
dudes that I've worked with, they've proven themselves to be good enough to compete with anybody Black American, no matter what. It's about your talent. Do you get busy? Right? Nobody cares where you're from. Do you get busy? Yes or no? You dance? Go get busy.
Yeah.
You rap? Let me hear what you got. You got beats? Let me hear your beats. At the end of the day, that's what it's about. Your talent, your skill level, period. And I'm gonna finish with this. All that being said is you would have to ask everybody, why is it when we do certain things, especially in entertainment, fashion, or whatever, why do people gravitate towards our version or our embodiment of said art, of said culture?
Yeah.
You would have to ask the people who gravitate towards us. You would have to ask people who want to spend their hard-earned money to go to Madison Square Garden and see the Knicks play and whatever the case is. But you know what I'm saying? You would have to ask them why they're so invested in how we do things. Whether I don't even profit from these. People can say whatever they want, but at the end of the day, we bring the revenue in. Whether we profit the way we're supposed to, that's a whole nother argument. But in terms of what people know they can make money off, what people know brings the heat to their party, would bring that extra, you would have to ask them. But what I'm saying is already evident throughout time for a long time that we seem to be the majority's choice for whatever it is within the arts specifically. And we'll have mammies, you have not only say mammies, but we'll have women raising your children in Manhattan as well too. So what is it about what we do that is essential to us, to ourselves and all others? So I'm gonna land my plane on that. OG, I
All
definitely
right.
respect you all the time. Salute to the chat, and hopefully I'll see you on Sunday. Peace, y'all. Yes,
All
y'all.
righty. Thank you so much, brother. The
Peace.
Most High. Thank you so much. Yo, so listen, I'm going to call it a night after this. So listen, the chat, y'all in it tonight. I appreciate the communication. Let me see before Uptown Blade Brown. I see in the building. Oh man, I haven't seen that name in a minute. What's up, brother? Akeem, let me see. What's up, brother? Let me see who else. I think Jerry Williams. Just want to see who else is up in here. If I missed you guys, if I missed your name, again, I appreciate it. Those of you who checking this channel out for the first time, welcome. And listen, it don't cost you nothing to hit that subscribe button, help this channel out immensely. We could use more people tuning into the information. Definitely thumb up the video. Don't leave. If you're in the chat, before you leave, thumb up the video. And like I said, tell a friend about this channel. Tell them what's going on, what we're trying to do over here. And when the video uploads, hype the video as well. All right. And so again, thank you for tuning in. And until the next time, peace out.